The versatility of resistance bands is basically endless. If there is an exercise you can do on a machine or with weights, chances are we can replicate it with a resistance band. Not only that, but they are very compact and very useful in situations where we do not have a gym to work out, but we still want to add some resistance to our exercises. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to go through some of the most important exercises you can do using a resistance band, adding exercises to every single muscle group so you can go through a holistic workout even if you do not have any equipment. All we're going to require for today is a resistance band and additionally any sort of stick. I am using my trusted broomstick. To make things easier for ourselves, we're going to start out in the seated position and we're going to work our way down, starting with our shoulders and arms. So we're going to grab ourselves whatever resistance band you have or whatever thickness you know you can work with, and we're going to start with classic overhead press. Now be sure to extend your back fully and we're gonna go through a complete range of motion, full extension and reversal. Now the good thing about resistance bands is the variable resistance, meaning that at the end of your range of motion you're always going to require more strength than at the beginning of the exercise, meaning that you are basically progressively overloading within a single repetition, and the strength we're building at lockout or at the end of our range of motion is usually the strength we require to get stronger in general. Working with resistance bands where we can barely go through the last couple of centimeters or inches of range of motion will help you immensely in advancing your resistance training. Switching from symmetrical overhead press to asymmetrical overhead press, shorten the band however much you will like, and once again we're going to work complete extension and reversal. Be sure to elevate your scapula and pull your shoulder blade all the way up when extending, and we want to go all the way down and stop it right before we release that tension in our band before we go for the next repetition, which moves us to rotational shoulder exercises for our rotator cuffs and for complete shoulder mobility. Now in this exercise we're not just going through the motions, but we actually want to work with our shoulder blades going into complete scapular depression at the back here, scapular abduction, pulling them apart, scapular elevation all the way up here, and then we're going to pull our shoulders forward and into upward rotation before we go through the entire movement once more. Not only is it going to help us work on our scapular mobilization and our scapular control, but also help us stretch out our anterior chain at chest and shoulder height, which is going to release some tension in our shoulders as well. And last but not least, we're going to combine our trap musculature with our rear delts, just pulling apart and bringing our shoulder blades together at the back before we move forward again. We're not releasing the tension, we're keeping some of it in here, and then we're gonna repeat the entire movement once more. All the way forward, all the way back, shoulder blades together, and reverse. Now when it comes to our arm musculature, nothing easier than that. We're gonna stay in a seated position, but we're gonna move up with our butts, and from here we can go into a full biceps curl. Don't forget to turn your arm so we can hit all the heads of our biceps in this movement. And of course we can work symmetrically as well. Complete extension and all the way up. And to move us to our triceps, we don't even have to get up, we just have to sit down even more. Grab that band from behind your head and extend your arm, fully flexing your triceps and reversing. Always keeping some tension in the band, just so we never really let go, and always have some flexion in our musculature and some required tightness in our body. Moving from our deltoids to our pecs, working our chest musculature first through closing, bring our hands together, and opening up once more. The longer your range of motion in this movement, the better. And if you can work your way all the way back here, stretching out your pecs and your anterior delts, the more benefit we will have as a stretching part or stretching focus in this exercise as well. So longer range of motion and the tiniest bit of stretch in our pectorals and our anterior delts. Now, as for those of you who do enjoy a nice chest workout, now we can start simulating a bench press, either with dumbbells, which means that we can actually start bringing our arms together before we reverse the movement once more, or adding the stick for a barbell simulation. The only caveat here being that the end of our range of motion will probably be the ground, so if you can elevate your back, that would be amazing to increase your range of motion. However, you can also work this exercise in a seated position. Lengthen your shoulders to add some deltoid movement as well, and reverse until you feel the tension releasing before we move into the next extension once more. And then combining deltoid with chest movement once more, we're gonna simulate a cable cross by moving diagonally, bringing our hands together at shoulder height and reversing the movement. The shorter you make your resistance band, the more strength you will require. And the amazing thing also about the resistance band is that we're gonna have a lot of stabilization that we usually don't get from working classic weights or machines. And of course, for those of you who do enjoy more of a calisthenic style exercise, you can go for classic resistance band push-ups, increasing the strength requirements for this movement pattern as well, without having to start simulating bench presses laying down on your back. This is more up my alley when it comes to using resistance bands to add strength focus. Which moves us to our back musculature, where we're gonna start rowing. Now, you can also choose to fix the resistance band on a doorknob and start pulling in a standing position, but you can also just use your foot to step onto it and still go through the exact same motion. Now, the further you stand up, the longer your range of motion will be. However, the more we can move forward with our upper body, the more back dominance we are going to have. Which means that if you want to go through a full range of motion, now you will have to start standing up, and we can just pull from here all the way to our chest and reverse into complete extension. As a bonus, if you want to extend both your legs, now we also have a posterior chain stretch in our leg musculature while working on our back as well. You can also work a little bit more effectively by just simply working symmetrical exercises. Both arms simultaneously, long ranges of motion, complete extension, and reverse. Now, of course, we can also row in a seated position by fixing the resistance band. And if you want to work on more lat dominance, all we need to do is basically move our upper body parallel to the ground, and now we're gonna pull laterally, just like we would if we were doing a lat pull down. This way we can target our lats as well, and we don't even need a pull-up bar. If you can fix the resistance band on the ceiling, that would be perfect to simulate a lat pull down. However, you can also just fixate it at, for instance, shoulder height, just like I'm doing right here, and move parallel to the ground. An additional bonus with this exercise is that you're going to require a lot more body tension, which is also an amazing bonus to have, and we have a little bit more core engagement with this exercise as well. And while we are at the topic of core strength, we're going to move down our back to our spinal erectors, our lower back musculature, and adding our core as well with some rotational exercises, going through long rotational ranges of motion, adding our obliques and basically our entire core musculature as well for the lateral moves. As for isolating our spinal erectors, just to strengthen them as well, we're gonna fixate our hands with the resistance band right behind our head, and we're gonna switch between folding forward and sitting up all the way. Folding forward and sitting up all the way, building some nice tension in our spinal erectors and slowly reversing the entire movement. And of course, the longer your range of motion, the better. Just be careful not to hurt yourself. Now, when it comes to leg exercises, the squat is basically a timeless classic, adding resistance to our squat by using the bands. There is nothing easier than that. We're gonna step in with both legs and we're gonna bring the band right behind our neck, going into full extension, and of course we want to go down all the way. Now, of course, you don't have to go into such a wide stance. I just want to add some hip mobility as well, and of course complete extension, flex your glutes and reverse. It's a squat, you know what to do. And if you want to take the focus off our anterior chain and move to our posterior chain, isolating our glutes and our hamstrings a little bit more, we can do forward folds with the resistance band. Not only are we working our hamstrings and our glutes, but now we also have our spinal erectors once more included in this movement. Just be sure to keep your back straight, and the good thing about this exercise, once more, we are adding some posterior chain mobility as well, going through a nice stretch when we're at the lowest point of the exercise and flexing our entire posterior chain all the way up to our lower back when going into the full extension. And if you want to isolate our anterior chain a little bit more, our hip flexors and our quads, we can step in like so and do knee raises. Now, the shorter you make your band, of course, the stronger you will have to be, especially once more in the end range of motion, which, as we said, is an amazing benefit of any sort of exercise we are doing. And of course, the same thing goes for adduction and abduction, with the difference to the machine exercises being that we're going to require a lot more core engagement and a lot more full body tension to go through these exercises. External movement, you can also use your hands, requiring even more strength and even more control. The same thing goes for the inward movements as well. And now we're basically working adductors and abductors while including a lot of core strength, a lot of balance, a lot of tension, which is gonna make even this exercise basically a full body exercise with a strength dominance focus for the specific muscle you have chosen. And there we have it, basically a full body workout routine, starting at our shoulders, moving all the way down to our leg musculature. And of course, you don't have to use all of these exercises. You can just pick the ones you enjoy most. You can mix and match and add to your own home workout routines. If you have other pieces of equipment, that's all up to you. But with that said, sadly, once again, that's all the time I've left you today. However, if you like the video and subscribe, and please check out other videos on this channel, because we literally, and I mean literally, have new ones every single day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Captain Cairo. Peace out.